All right. How's it going, everyone? All right. Welcome to the Audinate booth at NAB, the last day. Are we all tired and done?
We're
Ready
so
to
happy. We're happy and tired.
so we've been doing panels at the Audinate booth. The first day was we're talking about audio workflows from ground to cloud. It was an architect's perspective. Yesterday it was an engineer's take. So today what we've done is we've brought in leadership and people all well above my pay grade to talk to. And I'm going to hit them with some tough questions. And every engineer's dream is to question leadership. I'm going to live that today. I am so looking forward to this. But let's start off with some introductions, starting with you, Amy, and then we'll just go around the horn.
Oh, I have to do it myself, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's like I can never do justice
There you
introducing
go.
any
I got
of you.
it. I'm Amy DeLouise. I'm the creative director of DeLouise Enterprises, which is a multi-platform production and distribution company. We work with large corporations, associations, and nonprofits, telling stories on big screens, small screens, mobile screens, social media screens. But I'm also, my other hat is I'm the founder of GALSNGEAR. So that's an organization that's promoting tequity, is what we call it, across the industry.
Love it. Josh.
Great, yeah, I'm Josh Rush. I'm the CMO at Audinate, and I don't have as long of an introduction as you. I need to work on beefing it up. But yeah, I've been at the company for almost 10 years, and it's been a great ride just watching Dante grow from where we started with just a handful of manufacturers to what we have here at the show. And so, yeah, that's what I do and what keeps me busy.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Claudia Souza with ASG, and I'm Chief Cloud Officer at ASG. We are a system integrator, managed service provider, technology partner to a lot of the companies here at NAB, including Audinate, and we're really excited to work with Frank and the rest of the team on Dante Connect specifically, the rest of the company outside of my team on everything else Dante.
All right, so my first question on any panel that I do with this boat, I'm obligated by marketing to ask this question. So here goes. What was your first encounter with Dante? And feel free to say if you haven't used it. I understand we all come from different roles, but feel free to go with it. I'll start with you, Amy. No. No, okay, all right. I'll start with you, Josh, because, like, you bear the title.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're obligated by marketing,
Yeah.
but I didn't tell you to ask you.
Well, I mean, there's more people than you. Marketing is a team.
So my first experience with Dante, so I got the job at Audinate, and I was actually just telling Claudia the story earlier. And for whatever reason, about my first 3 weeks on the job, I actually hadn't seen Dante in action. So it was all theoretical. So I saw slides and talked to people about it. And then we went on a road show. So you might remember Bernie Farkas was one of our sales engineers. And so we did the Yamaha, I think it was Yamaha Versity was the name of the training event in Chicago. And so Bernie got up there, did his thing, did his demo. And I pulled him aside afterwards and I said, I have to learn this. I was like, sit here and let's walk through it.
It's amazing.
And I remember plugging together my first system and I was like, really? It's that simple? And it kind of clicked. The light bulb went off then. So
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Again, we were talking a little bit earlier, and I was trying to remember. My background is not audio, so I was thinking, when did I first hear about Dante? And it was, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, we kind of figured out. I was at Sony Broadcast, and for me, I always like to do something different, something new, obviously new technology, but sometimes back then it was just new customers. So I went after a new vertical, which were the non-traditional broadcast customers, new media. And one of them, large tech company, I won't say exactly where, but you know, they're all like Northern California and up. And we had a system integration division at Sony, and we were contracted to do their big meeting and event space, as well as their new 2 towers and all of their meeting rooms. And walked in with our engineer, who is actually one of our senior leadership here as well. And everything was Dante, 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 Dante. And I thought, well, I've been in broadcast already like a couple decades. What is this Dante? I've never heard of this thing. So he had to give me a little education on what it was, and it stuck. So when I had the chance to work with you again, it was like, okay, I do know what it is now.
That's awesome. Amy.
I can't tell you a lot about it, but I'm really enthusiastic about it because sound is so important, and I think we get pretty, I come from the content creator side of things.
Yes.
And everybody's always like scouting for sound, for picture, and everything's about picture, but really if you don't have sound, you don't have any story at all. In fact, I wrote a book on sound and story, and it's in the NAB bookstore, yay. So I'm just excited because, we're trying to enable more people to access sound. The democratization of content has got to include a focus on audio and sound and different processes for that. So that's what excites me about Dante.
Thank you, Amy. I think that's a good segue into the next conversation. Our conversation today is about industry trends in broadcast and production, and we're trying to look at it from a visionary, strategic perspective as to what is going to happen next, and we're going to do a lot of those conversations. But I guess I'll start off with, what does a day in an organization's leader look like? What is your day-to-day? Like, how do you provide that vision for the rest of the organization so that they can carry it on?
Well, I just came from a workshop that I was giving about time management for creatives, which is becoming a real stress point, to be honest, because so many people have so many titles with slashes in them with so many different things and so many hats.
Yeah, can we do something about that? Very long titles.
We all wear a lot of hats, but the hats are getting a little crazy, to be honest. And so one of the things I talked about is I have a whiteboard over my desk. I'm a big kinesthetic learner, so I have to write things down just to be sure they're locked into the brain. And I have all my to-dos and our team's to-dos and goals and everything, but right in the middle in big red letters it says, know the goal. And I think that just as a leader, it's so easy to dive in and like jump into this meeting, jump into this Zoom, jump into this, and it's like step back. What is the goal? What's the big picture goal for the company or the organization when it comes to GALSNGEAR? What's today's goal that will get us to that place? What's the goal for our customers, our clients? And you're always having to step back and not get so in the weeds that you forget the goal. That's for me.
Thank you. Claudia, I'll take the same question to you next.
Thinking about a typical day, I'll use the cliche, every day is different. But one of the things I thought about on that one is that I played a lot of roles in my decades in the industry. I have a lot of individual contributor, carried a bag, salesperson, strategic sales, management, now C-suite. Honestly, my days aren't all that different. Wherever I am, what I'm passionate about is finding great partners, great coworkers, great customers, cool technology, hopefully emerging because it keeps it fun, and removing a lot of obstacles so that everybody can come together and find, a really wonderful solution and everybody walks away happy. I don't think my job is any different today than it was the first day I started in the industry.
That's fantastic. Josh, I'll take the question to you.
Yeah, so I'd echo the no day is the same. I think every day in marketing is definitely different. But if I had bubbled it up to the themes throughout the days, I would say it's a lot around communication and alignment. I think especially as our company has grown and we have different constituencies, different groups, I think there's just a lot of alignment and coordination, making sure everyone's rowing in the right direction and removing roadblocks to do that. And so I think it's a good problem to have because I think it's a sign of a growing company. But I think it's important so that the teams are as effective as they can be.
Josh, I'll take the next question to you because, again, I think it's important to understand what are these trends that leadership identifies, and I think everyone brings their unique perspective to this question. So I guess, what do you see as an industry trend? What is happening to the broadcast industry? And let's look at it from an Audinate perspective. And so I'll start it off with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I sat in the Devoncroft conference the first day of the show, and they have all sorts of surveys that they do with broadcasters and manufacturers that supply the broadcast industry. And there were two main things that bubbled to the top of that list, one of which we are front and center on, which is remote production. So that was at the top of the list. And everyone, and again, I think that's the solution, but the problem that it's trying to solve is that the broadcast industry is under tremendous pressure, and I think everyone's being asked to do more with less, and everyone's trying to figure out how to make that happen. And it's about efficiencies. It's getting it more out of the team that you have, the equipment that you have, being flexible with your workflows. So yeah, I think that one fits right into what we're doing, what we're showing here at the show with Dante Connect, the partners that we have here. The other one is AI, and I'm going to punt on that one for right now, but it dominated the conversation. I think it's a really interesting discussion. And
I have safely avoided using AI in any public engagement during the entirety of the NAB.
I was going to say.
I did that.
I probably got asked about it 20 times, but it was just interesting to hear all the different perspectives at the show. In fact, I think Claudia and I were talking about this yesterday, and you unpack that one, and it's really interesting because I think you have a lot of people who are doing really just traditional machine learning that have like rebadged it and rebranded it AI.
As AI,
and said,
yeah.
Exactly.
It's
So
actually been around for a long time.
exactly, yeah. So.
I love that. So I think Audinate comes at it from a technology provider, technology enabler conversation. I think the conversation from your perspective is a little different, but I think it will mesh well with the story. What are the trends that ASG and yourself, what have you identified, and how is that helping the industry?
Well, obviously, I'm a little biased here with the cloud, but for me, that has been front and center for years now. And the last couple of years, everywhere you walked around, every booth at NAB, cloud, 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 but kind of like now, AI, it was more of a me too than people actually really doing something in it. But that has completely changed. I actually think cloud production and cloud live production has matured. And the maturing is because of companies like Audinate with Dante Connect, because I see it as a bunch of puzzle pieces that come together to make the entire solution. And maybe we were at 70% or 80%, but some of the critical pieces were missing, and that was audio. So last NAB coming here, my team of engineers went crazy when they saw Dante Connect.
I remember that.
I mean, dragging us back here. And I have to give credit where it's due. You guys had already had dinner with Dave Van Hoy, our president, and he was like, yeah, I know. I was with dinner with him last night. We've been partners for my entire time. We're good. So the point that made everybody so excited is we finally had that missing final piece to make a real, full, complete production. And over the last year, I've seen that your advancements have helped other companies. So now we have SSL leveraging Dante Connect and having their, offering an audio mixer in the cloud. So I'm excited. It's all here now. Now I just get to have fun. We get to not have to piece it together MacGyver style. Sorry, dating myself. For those of you who don't know, just Google it. But we literally now it's all the tools are at our fingertips, and we get to go out and have fun.
I love MacGyver, by the way. But so I come at this from an engineering perspective, right? But even though I'm an engineer trying to create solutions, my opinion of it is that technology is never meant to be front and center. It is the content that drives the whole conversation. And Amy, you have a perspective on that. You are a content creator. Technology is an enabler for you. What is your industry trend?
Right. Well, I've spent a lot of this conference actually teaching workshops at Post-Production World, which is where all the content creators are struggling to get through all the pivot points and innovations and everything else. And I will tell you that while I teach technical courses, I would say that my packed courses this year were all on the soft skills, because what is really happening is technology is happening at such an incredible pace that the only people who really can survive in the industry and thrive are the people who can pivot and the people who can be constant learners. And so a lot of what I'm seeing is there's a lot of burnout and a lot of frustration, and a lot of folks who came into the industry a long time ago, like I did, and started out as one thing, like I am an editor of short form documentary, or I am an editor of television series. And now they're being asked to be a sound mixer and a color grader, and oh, by the way, could you shoot this thing? And and so that's a whole other conversation. But I think we're seeing a lot of burnout from that, but also people realizing they have to master the skill of mastery itself and upskilling. And the other trend I would say that we're really seeing is that our leadership pipeline is going to be in trouble, and that's where GALSNGEAR comes in, because we are seeing women in the middle section of the industry drop out and go to other industries. So women who are engineers, women with these technical skills are kind of not happy necessarily with how our industry culture writ large, not individual companies here, is going. And they're not dropping out of the workforce. We like to say that. We're like, oh, they're having babies and dropping out of the workforce. That's a complete cop-out. That is not what's happening. They're just not here.
Right.
They're moving to other industries, and we need to keep them here. So that's why we had our leadership summit yesterday. We have it every year at NAB show. Yesterday it was sold out, standing room only, and I did a poll in the room, and 38% of the women in that room had more than 15 years experience.
Wow.
So I'm not talking about newbies, and I'm not talking about people ready to retire. There's a real trend there and a thirst for figuring out how to pivot and stay in this industry and be satisfied and happy.
So I know we wanted to talk about organizational strategy right at the back of this, but Amy, you bring up a very important point about skill and the understanding of that. And I think as leadership, yes, developing technology, great. R&D, engineering, beautiful. We're coming out with new things, announcements, Dante Connect, wonderful stuff. But as a leader, how do we account for this vastly changing plethora of skills that now you have to adopt? I'll start with you, Josh, and as a company, how do we account for this? Where is our next generation of successful users, employees? Where's it coming from? How do we account for that?
Yeah, I think it's a great point because the AV industry is a bit of a unique niche. So especially what we're doing at Audinate is, we like to say we're a networking company first, but we are at that intersection of audio and video, and trying to get that intersection of skills is really important. So I think we hire from diverse backgrounds. I think we like to bring people in that do understand the networking side because, again, first and foremost, that's what we're doing. But I think that's where the industry associations are really important, right? Finding people that do have that mix of skills. The other thing that's really important for us as a company is not just finding that skill set as we're bringing people into the company, but the industry in general as well. Because I think that's the challenge there too, is just bringing people into the AV industry or pivoting people that are in the industry that maybe were in the analog world to now understanding networking and understanding what we're doing with Dante. So that's why we invest a lot in education. It's a big part of what we do, not just our certification program, but sending people out on the road to do training. And even that program has evolved where we started off really focused in on people that were in the industry today, and we've shifted that now more and more towards people that are coming in the industry and working with universities and trade schools and groups like that to catch people when they're making that decision. Do I want to go work in IT or do I want to go work in this industry?
Yeah,
So
that's funny you bring that up because I just did an Office Hour Global presentation about Dante, and I think 75% of the questions that came through is like, where can I get the training? How do I go to the next in-person training? How can I attend this? I'm new to Dante. How can I learn this? So I think training is a very significant part of the conversation in identifying that next level of skilled professionals. So Claudia, I'll pivot to you. ASG is a solutions provider, right? Ideally, if somebody were to work with ASG, do they need training? Like, what is your definition of training for that, for your customer? How do you do that?
You know what's interesting about ASG? They have always been at the forefront of new technologies. They always enjoy doing the unique things that are coming up. It's not a company that's going to cookie cutter and we want 1,000 people doing the same thing every day. Dave hires a bunch of really creative, really intelligent people and lets them do what they do best. But he has created this incredibly collaborative environment that really fosters all of us work with each other in all the different divisions. What we don't know, somebody else will surely know. And we ask, we teach each other, we learn. So there's that internal culture. But we also tended to have penetration in verticals that are not as traditional in broadcast, like new media and esports and all of those. But what those areas bring is a lot of young, fresh talent that look at technology as an enabler, and they have no preconceived, it must be this way, a switcher should look that way. And what that brings is they are willing to try new things. They're eager. They actually demand new and different ways of doing things. So we are learning from them. We are learning as we're trying to find solutions from them. And quite honestly, we're finding some of our talent from that pool and teaching that pool. And we also have a very large division that embeds production staff at these companies, like hundreds of people. And the cool thing is, again, they're an extension of us and of our industry, and they're out there meeting others and other teams and kind of teaching through that method and bringing them into our industry, which I'm desperate for. I mean, I really look at what happens as we all start to retire someday, 15 years from now. Who is coming up? Who is going to be around? Because I had one of my esports customers long ago say that his friend was out interviewing, and he interviewed, and I won't name names, no, I won't embarrass anybody, and he took a job in government because he thought it was more in a like modern and exciting workplace than us, all of us. I'm like, wow, that was really harsh, but it was an eye-opening wake-up that we need to get our industry to be exciting, to bring young talent in.
Right. Amy, you're a long-term educator. You're a content creator. You're a producer. You're creative. You also are a leadership person who's trying to bring tequity. I love the term, by the way.
Made it up for engineers, so I'm glad you like it.
See, the thing
it's
is,
an equation.
It resonated perfectly.
Did you know that? It's an
Really?
equation. Yeah, so I say tequity equals access plus visibility plus upskilling multiplied by a community to support you.
So you've heard some industry perspectives there. Let's talk about tequity. Like, how does that help the next generation? What are you seeing in a solution to this growing problem? I think it's a problem.
No, it is, and I want to say it really isn't just the next generation, but let me talk about the younger generation first, because in our leadership summit, it's really clear to me, and not just there, but in my work and with my teams and everything, that culture is very important to young people. And so, you think, oh, government, that's boring. Actually, we have some really great and very innovative government clients. And I can see how that culture might have been more appealing. Because culture really does matter to them. And they're willing to walk away from something that's sexy and cool and exciting if the culture is not a good fit for them. And they're also really putting their hand up and saying, I believe in tequity. I need to be treated well just because I have a different color skin than the bosses do, or different gender lens, whatever, different economic background. I need to take up some space here, even though I might not be a senior person in terms of knowledge. So that's one thing we're seeing. And the other thing we're seeing is people who are already in the pipeline are kind of over how we've treated them in the past, and so they want to take up some space and say, yes, I need to be in a company where people communicate well and collaborate well. So you talked about collaboration, and as from a leader side, that is my number one task, is to be sure everybody's collaborating well and treating each other well, because we all, at least for me, I came out of the feature film side of the industry, which is a very top pyramid. If you do all of these leadership books, it's like top of the pyramid versus center of the circle. I mean, that is top of the pyramid. Like when Oliver Stone is on the walkie-talkie saying blah, 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 like you better do blah, blah, blah. And then everybody deploy, and so that's a totally different system than where I am now, where it's like, what do you feel about this? What do you think about that? What do we try that way? Oh, this is a whole new way, totally different way than, we had our students here working on a totally all in the cloud newscast from the show floor. Like, that doesn't look like the switcher I grew up with the ADO, like, all that stuff. So, it's a whole new world, and we, as leaders in it, need to be preparing that pipeline, and we need to be embracing that, so that as an industry, we are sustainable in the human resources way, not just the environmental way.
I love it. So we've talked about industry trends. We've talked about the challenges that the skills we're faced with and how we're strategically planning on doing that. So I'd like all of you to put on your visionary hats right now and take you through. Put it on. So where are we going next as an organization? And I'll start with you, Josh, because what is the strategy behind? So we've identified technology. We've identified the human component in there. But what is Audinate's vision in terms of a technology solution provider for the future? How are we taking this forward?
Yeah, I think the best way to sum it up is we're trying to enable people that are responsible for delivering AV experiences, whether that's in the broadcast market, whether that's in the installed market, but enable those people to provide the best AV experiences for their customers and give them the tools, the capabilities, the technology, everything they need to provide those.
So we're essentially a platform at that point.
Exactly, yeah. So then when you break that down, it really is a combination of technology, right? So we have what we're doing with our OEM customers, but it's also the control and management. It's the software that comes along with it. It's the ecosystem of other developers and partners that comes into it. So it's really this complete platform. So the people developing those AV experiences have everything they need in their toolkit.
So this to me is like I'm trying to piece together a puzzle here. So Josh has given us part of it. He's like saying, all right, I have these technology pieces. That's our vision to it. I think, Claudia, you represent the next part of that puzzle as somebody who's piecing these things together. Like, what is your strategy? What is your vision behind that?
Absolutely. For myself, one of the reasons that I left the manufacturer world and went to a solutions provider is because I realized no one company in our industry could truly make that dream, that vision that I'm so passionate about with live cloud production a reality. It had to be a lot of partners coming together, and for the partners to talk to me, I had to be somewhere neutral that I could talk to everyone, bring it together. What I found at ASG is a company that truly thinks even beyond putting the products together. It's the flexibility of how you offer that. We offer it where you can have us come in and design and build and train. You can use our system that we build in the cloud and we manage. We can have personnel embedded, so we'll go, we'll design, we'll build it, we'll train it after consulting and understanding what you need, and then we will put staff at the facility that can either be there on a flex basis as you need, it can be there full time operating things while you're hiring and they're training the next gen, the next people, and then we can migrate out. Or there are many companies actually that are not, broadcast is not their main business, it's used to support their business. They have no interest in creating that internal knowledge. So we can stay with them for as long as their journey to help. And I like that. I like the flexibility. I think it's all about flexibility now. Even in why cloud, why would you do these systems in the cloud? Honestly, I think it's about flexibility. You know, we were, at least my generation, we consume content in a very passive way. You stare at a screen and you consume it. I watch my kids with their content. Oh no, it is completely immersive, interactive. They are listening, they are watching multiple screens on Discord, doing something else, social media. And I think that our broadcast industry realizes that, and they know they have to address it. But it is expensive and impractical to address it, right? So to me, the beauty of what I do is not just, woo, I do cloud. It's how empowering is it if all of these different companies, the content creators, the content holders, have a flexible, inexpensive, because you only pay for what you're using, way to try things out. I want to keep my kids' generation engaged in media. And unless we try new things and fail and try again, they will just kind of find their own way. So
Love
I know
it.
I could go for hours.
Love it. Amy, so I'm
Can
going to
I
ask.
jump in on that question?
Yes, but I want you to rate their responses too,
Oh,
because
no.
so here's the thing, right? For me, the user is the most important part of this whole puzzle, right?
Right.
So we have technology, we have a deployment mechanism, we have this in front of you. What do you think?
So I'm going to paint this picture visually because I'm a visual thinker.
Love it.
And you know, we just had an eclipse recently. So we all learned, you know, if you Googled it enough times and you watch television news, they were like, "Don't, whatever you do, don't stare directly at the sun." I must have gotten 1,000 messages from like NASA, like the senior executive of NASA has an announcement for America: do not stare at the sun directly, right? And the thing was that the solution was so incredibly simple, these little goofy Mylar glasses. And if you didn't have the little Mylar glasses, you couldn't see what was really happening in front of you. So I think ultimately from a user perspective and a creator and distributor and facilitator perspective, it's all about simplicity. Okay, it's like sometimes the easiest and most simple solution is not the 18K whiz bang hoopla, you know, the robot dog is super cool, but you know, I really just want the Mylar glasses so I can see what's happening. So I think we just have to always recognize that sometimes the simple tools are the best, and that's the best way that we can provide those to whether it's the customer or the user.
Amy, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Uh-oh.
Because
I thought that was a good wrap up.
that was beautiful. That was
I
beautiful.
Go to the airport.
No, I love it. I love it. But Claudia brought up an interesting point about the way the new generation or the current mechanism of content consumption, right? So it's not just about the things that are produced, but I think there's something to be said about the users being a part of the production process.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think of them as co-producers. So when I'm working with a client with my creative director hat on, they're usually thinking this is the thing we're distributing, and then by the time we end the conversation, we tease out well, who's the audience, and there are actually multiple audiences. Well, how will they be consuming the content? Well, they're actually might be co-creating some content while we're doing that, and how can we incorporate that content into the content we're doing? And so it's kind of this loop. So we have to tease out the fact that there are multiple strands, and if you're old enough to have worked in this industry a while, it was always the one thing. There's just one thing. We're delivering a 60-minute show. It has to be 56 minutes and 20 seconds, and it will have this many commercial breaks that will have black, and that's it. That's the one deliverable. There is no one deliverable anymore. It's a constant loop, a constant revision, and then whatever it was that you did gets reiterated and chopped up into a million pieces on social media. So you got to be prepared for that. It's just a cycle of content.
I love that. I like that. And I think technology is in a unique position. For example, our Dante Connect solution, right? We don't just say, all right, here's a Dante device, bring it into the cloud. We have a web version of it. We have partners that are developing their own content. So technology is uniquely placed to solve some of these problems, and I think as the content creation process evolves further, I think we'll all have a better solution at some point. And so it's great insights. I love the strategy conversation. I think we're going to take this in another direction because, again, I have a group of leaders. We have to ask the question, right? Let's talk about the human component. We touched on it a little bit in the beginning about the skills and how, people are literally dropping out of our industry. And so as an industry, we need to do better. So that means creating inclusion, creating representation. It's important to people to be able to identify with leadership. And, we have a great panel here. So, Josh, I'll start with you. Audinate as a company, I'm somebody who works here, and I personally feel it's a great place to be at. Frankly, because of the inclusion that I experience in several ways. Inclusion is hard to say it's hard to define as a singular. It's not an event. It's a series of things that encompasses your day. So, what is your strategy behind that? How does Audinate create this inclusive space that I, as an employee, enjoy?
Yeah, it's a great point, Frank. So first of all, it's very important to Audinate overall to have an inclusive strategy and an inclusive workforce. But I think as you touched on, I don't think it's necessarily a specific definition of what that means. So we do a number of things. Obviously you're super involved with the Diversity Council with AVIXA. I'm a member of that as well too. So that bubbles over into initiatives that we help sponsor for the industry. For example, there was the inclusive language guide that we worked on. So started as an internal initiative to really clean up the language we were using in our software products, but it gained momentum and became an overall industry initiative that I think was really important. And then from a recruiting perspective, I think it's really important to have a diverse workforce. And so everything from, we sponsor women in technology events. We make an extra effort to recruit a diverse workforce for our open positions. And as a public company, so we're on the ASX in Australia, we actually have to report on some of these stats. And so certainly gender diversity is important, and we over-index. So one of the things we try and look at is what is the pool out there, right? Because this industry overall skews very male. And so we look at how we do versus the industry averages, and whether it's our workforce, the management team, or our board, we over-index on all of those numbers.
Awesome.
But back to your unique definition point, being an Australian company, one of the things we actually look at is country of origin.
Yes.
Because we feel like that's another way to have a diverse workforce and bring in different perspectives. And I think the last stat I saw was that we have 26 different nationalities from 30 countries for a company that's only 200 people. So
that's amazing.
Again, a pretty diverse workforce and different perspectives. So.
I love that. I think the best part about it is there is some intentionality to it, and that makes
Absolutely.
it even more. Claudia, I'll pass the same question to you. Technology leader, massive company, growing rapidly, always hiring. What does that human component look to you? And as a leader, how do you make sure that ASG is at the forefront of this?
What's interesting? Many companies I've worked at, obviously being a woman in this industry is we're not the majority. So I've been asked to participate in diversity, equity, inclusion, all of these different things. I came to ASG beyond the fact of the creativity and always an innovator and at the forefront of technology. It was about the culture. That's what really mattered to me. I wanted to be in a place where diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't a group, an initiative, something you do. And I wanted to be in a place where it's just who you are. And the diversity is beyond the I've hired so many of this and so many of that, which is great. It's important. We all needed that. But it's even beyond race and gender, and it's neurodiversity. It's so many other areas. And in a company where there isn't a huge hierarchy, yes, we have a president. I may be in the C-suite, but honestly, I don't think anybody in our company feels they can't go to Dave Van Hoy and get the exact same response as anybody at any other level. We are really an organization of coworkers, and we all work with each other and partner with each other. I'm not going to say it's perfect. Nothing in life's perfect. We can butt heads. We can have issues. That's life. But there isn't that inequity. There isn't that, can I say that? Do I fit in? Am I at the right position where I'm supposed to say something or other? It's so refreshing. Some days I'm still like, is this real?
Love it.
Like, I've
That's
come
awesome.
up with some names of what we are, and I don't want to say it because I don't know if Dave would love it or not, but it's like a commune. It's just like, it really is. We're all together, and again, nothing's perfect. I'm not going to say, oh, it's roses and rainbows, but that feeling of we're all equals, 100% is here, so.
Well, and I think what Claudia is talking about is belonging. And
Yep.
that's what we're really focused on in my company and in GALSNGEAR. So DEIB, we just say we're all about the B, because you can check off all the other boxes.
Correct.
And you can bring all those people in and you can sit them all around the table, but if they don't feel like they can speak up and be part of the table, it really is irrelevant what you call it. And for my own production company, I'm very proud that my team is completely diverse, neurodiverse, gender diverse, country of origin diverse, language diverse. Every kind of diversity that makes us better as a company, makes me better as a leader, and it certainly makes our deliverables better for our clients. And from the GALSNGEAR perspective, we are now seeing, just here at the show, we've brought hundreds of women, many of whom never came to this show before.
Amazing. And
somebody said to me yesterday, a woman who's in radio, she manages a radio station, she's a community leader, a technological leader, she checks all those boxes, she's an African-American woman, and she threw her arms around me and said, honestly, the first time I walked in the doors here, I wasn't sure I should really stay until I met you all and I realized I belong. And so it really all does come down to belonging, and we need to do better as an industry to make sure that every person feels like they belong.
Love it. I think this has been a great discussion. Any parting thoughts? I'll go around the horn. Josh, if you want to add something, or Claudia, anything you want to add.
Feel free.
On the spot, I'm like, just thank you for bringing us together.
Appreciate it.
And for your partnership, and great to get to know you, and would like to get more involved with GALSNGEAR. So all around, really
Awesome.
Appreciate meeting all of you and working with Audinate, and looking forward to what we talk about next year.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been an amazing panel. Appreciate everybody for sticking around. This has been a grueling 4 days. Go back home and have a restful couple of days before you get back to the grind. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Thank you.